One of the most poetic Hindu scriptures is the Ramayan. The devotion and love of this scripture was put in by the great Goswami Tulsidas. Because in this epic scripture of the Hindus, every Chalpai is so poetic, every character was brought to life. For example, if Sita did not argue with her husband Rama to join him in the forest for 14 years, she would have just been an ordinary character. But she was something special, something divine, because every character stood a purpose. So when you think about the scripture, you think about God destroying evil, God destroying Rama. Good over evil, humility over arrogance, love over hatred. But it is also a journey into the humility of all these characters in this story. Because you have characters who came to life to show us how to live. And in this great scripture, you have a devotee who showed us something extraordinary, who showed us something called humility. And in this scripture, we have Hanumanji. So he went to the forest, and he went to Lanka to search for Sita. He found her, he rescued her, and he did his duty for the Lord. But that was not all. In this epic scripture, he did more than just his duty. He showed why he was such an important character. Because he showed us devotion. And when he asked Sri Ram at the end for Anapayani Bhakti, because that means everlasting love for everyone. It showed his humility. You know, we think of humility, it's not just somebody that is kind and doesn't show off and not be pompous, but it's also someone who doesn't speak a lot. Anapayani Bhakti, he said to Sri Ram, very poetic, just a few words to get the message of who he was. And that shows unceasing love from Sri Ram. Because you see, the way we were supposed to live. So he is a devotee, and he showed us how to be humble toward his fellow human beings. But we're even shown this by Ram. Because Ram did not know how to repay him for rescuing his wife. But that is only in the physical sense, the material sense. Sita represents the soul and how to get back to God. So we see that Hanuman could have asked for a Nintendo. He could have asked for an Xbox, most children like to play with. But he asked for something more special. Because he knew in Hindu tradition, when you ask for everlasting, unceasing devotion to the Lord, that encompasses all human beings. So the soul is in everyone. And he was wise to know this. So this was an easy request for Hanuman. And he fell at the feet of Sri Ram. And it also shows us how we are supposed to perform our duty. He didn't do it in a pompous way. He didn't go to this person and that person. We lose our culture many times because we are bombarded into traditions. But he went to the Lord's feet and he fell down. Even Ram couldn't even pick him up. And he shows us how to live. And here is a great Chalpai to show the poetry and intelligence and wisdom of Goswami Tulsidas. Nat Bhagati Ati Sundayani Dehu Kripa Anupayani Nat Bhagati Ati Sundayani Dehu I just want everlasting love. And that is his only request. And that shows us how to live. He is not a traitor. As Swami Vivekananda said, you can't have a friend that uses you or bargains with you, trades in love. Vivekananda, one of our greatest saints of Hindu philosophy, said, you must have a friend that's pure of mind. So Hanuman did not try to take advantage of this relationship with Sri Ramachandra. Instead, he showed that there was nothing that he had, no desire. In life, we are in this world to have some pleasure. So, you go out to dinner with your friends, you go bowling, you go to the movies. I know the drop saw one last night. You do all these things, but then the world teaches you at the end that these things are temporary, fleeting. These things do not last. And that these pleasures just bring more pain. It is like when Pandit told the story of the man who went to listen to Ramayan, but was bombarded by the thoughts of going to a cocaine house and sniffing cocaine. But the man who was on the street in the alley at the cocaine shop dreamt of being at the Ramayan talk by the Swami. And the man who was snorting at cocaine, he had a lot of regret. And he realized that he made a big mistake. And that he belonged in that temple, in that mandir listening. So that is the idea here. This burden that we're placed with, going here and there and everywhere, just trying to get something out of life. But Krishna said to us in chapter 9, verse 22 of the Bhagavad Gita, those who worship me alone, who spend all their 100% energy focused, who are not looking this way, that I will give them what they do not have, and I will secure what they already have. So Krishna said in the Gita, you don't even have to ask me for anything. I already know what you want. And And this is a beautiful verse, and that is where we show that all our scriptures are parallel and even overlapping. So in this, we see that Hanuman did not want to wait and take advantage of this friendship. He wanted to also show his friend that he was simple. If Ram has to give him a bicycle or a Nintendo, he's just putting more worries and more pressure on the Lord or his friend. Similarly in life, we may use a friend to buy us something, to buy us food, or to buy us a ticket to the movies. But in return, what do we do for that friend? We don't care about that person. So Hanuman is also showing us here in the Ramayan not to be selfish. And Ram is also showing us too not to be selfish. But they were both deep, deep friends. Hindu tradition, a friend is not somebody you just hang out with. It's somebody that you elevate. That is why when Ram said to him, I don't know how to repay you, but he put his hands on his head and blessed him, he also showed the friendship of a mother or a father and how we should behave. But it also shows us here that there are many devotees. Krishna said the first one is artha, that's a distress one. He only comes to God when he's in pain, some physical ailment, mental tragedy, or spiritual, emotional stress. Then we have the artaya. That is the one who just wants desire, money and wealth and house and kingdom. And then you have the jinasu. That is the one that's motivated to understand God more. And he shows us in that lovely, lovely Chaupai by Tulsidas. Ananyacha Chinantaya Tomama Ichana Purayo Pasati Ananyasa Chintaya Tomama Yogi Ichana Purayo Pasati Tishana Nityami Yutana serve the purpose, show us love and devotion. And that it's like what we have, He showed us to go straight to God. It is like a tall mountain surrounded by a lake. And from that lake, there are 3 rivers that flow straight down. But some overlap with one another. And then at the bottom of those 3 rivers, there is a big stream where people are swimming. And other people are bathing. And some are trying to drink and get water for their families. And even dig a canal if they can. But the problem is that there's only so much water that is flowing from this stream. And they see that there is a lake. They can see ahead that the lake is on top of the mountain. But they realize that there must be something that is controlling even that lake, where the water is flowing to the lake, which is being controlled by the streams, and then a water supply at the bottom. But even above that top lake, where the mountain is at the very top, there must be even more water. So one devotee got very curious, and she started to climb the mountaintop. And when she reached to the height of the mountain, all the way even above where this big lake was on the top, she went even further to the very top to find that there was an even bigger lake of water. And that water went straight down. It was not like those rivers that were overflowing with one another. And that lady realized that that water supply is being controlled by that lake at the very, very top of the mountain. What is that top of the mountain called? That is God. That is the supreme source of joy that Hanuman was referring to in these 2 chapais. And when you find that joy, Hanuman said, you turn your back on all the pleasures of the world. So that lady found the lake at the very, very top of the mountain. That water, which was everything, which could flow straight down to the very bottom, was God. And the moral of the story is, if we find God in our life, we will not need all the temporary pleasures of the world, which make us happy 1 second, and which make us very sad another. I would like to thank President Ravi who gave me this opportunity today to give this presentation. I really think this is scripture that can help us, because it shows characters who come into the world to show us how to live. I would also like to thank my songsters and musicians